you done now?
Minute 36.
Boop.
Well, not for us. We have to find out who did this. We can't take fingerprints.
I think you'd better explain yourself, Wadsworth.
Me? Why me? Who would want to kill the cook?
Dinner wasn't that bad.
How can you make jokes at a time like this?
It's my defense mechanism.
Some defense. If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Oh?
I said if. If. Hey, come on. There is only one admitted killer here, and it is certainly not me. It is her.
I've admitted nothing.
Well, you paid the blackmail. How many husbands have you had?
Mine or other women's?
Yours.
5.
5.
Yes, just the 5. Husband should be like Kleenex. Soft, strong, and disposable.
You lure men to their deaths like a spider with flies.
Flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Right.
Right.
Well, if it wasn't you, then who was it? Who had the dagger anyway? It was you, Mrs. Peacock, wasn't it?
Yes, but I put it down.
Where?
In the study.
When?
I don't know. Before I fainted, after I fainted, I don't know. But any of you could have picked it up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cluedo Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 cult classic movie Click, 1 minute at a time, 60-second intervals. And all of our Cluevians out there, we appreciate you. You know, I realize there's not a metric, American system of time. Like, everyone goes by minutes, seconds, and hours. So I wanted to go like, hey, it's 3 feet.
You wanted to elaborate even more,
or
like, hey.
1 yard. 1 meter minus 3 inches. Like, I wanted to kind of go into kilometers, but there's no time. Time is time.
Yeah, time is time.
Time is time. And Time
Brad
After
Gilmore,
Time
everybody.
was a great song by Cyndi Lauper,
Yeah.
who sang songs in the 80s. In the same
When did
time
this
period
movie
that Clue
come
came
out?
out. Look at that.
Hey.
We did it.
See, people complain we have tangents. They all come back.
They do. Well, Jeff.
Every time. Just hang out. Oh, this is Jeff Smith. Hi,
Jeff
how are
Smith. I wanted to introduce you. Yes. Before we
Thank you. I'm part of the show.
before we got too far in. The Clue expert.
See, this is the first time. I wouldn't say that, but this is the first time we've actually interrupted intros for tangent. So this is getting out of hand, folks.
ridiculous.
It's just going to start like in the middle of the clip next time. The ad is going to start, and you're going to be hearing about Blue Apron or whoever advertised for us,
Right.
And in the middle of it, it's going to go. But you know what? The episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm that is really good. It's when they go to Dodger Stadium. And did you know that there was a guy who was being charged for murder, but he's in the background of the scene, and there's a whole documentary about him. Welcome to the Clue Podcast.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Do you remember the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode? Oh, here we go. The Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where he hires the prostitute so he could go to the carpool lane.
Yes.
Okay. So they filmed that at a real Dodger game.
Right.
And so they were shooting their seats, and there was a guy that was at the game, but later he was accused of I'm pretty sure it was murder, and he had no alibi. He went to the game by himself, didn't have his ticket, couldn't prove that he was there. But he remembered they were filming Curb Your Enthusiasm really close to where he was, and they found all the B-roll and all the footage from the show, from all the cameras, and they found him in the background, and he was, he proved he was there and he didn't commit the murder. And there's a whole documentary. It's streaming on one of the channels. In fact, I will look it up while we talk.
Oh my gosh,
But
this is fascinating. Everyone thinks this is fascinating. Even the
everybody
people who don't
except
like
for
the
you
tangents.
already knows this.
I've never heard of this, and I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know how I've missed this.
Yeah.
How is this not on my radar?
I don't know, but it is called. Well, you can look on YouTube. Just there's topics called "Curb Your Enthusiasm cleared a man of murder." Man proves his innocence with a baseball game footage. Netflix documentary reveals how Curb Your Enthusiasm saved an innocent man from the death penalty. It's called Long Shot.
Long Shot. It's on Amazon, you said?
Yep. No, Netflix.
Netflix. Long Shot. Netflix. Long Shot. Netflix. Okay. Man, they have so much content. Shout out to the good people at Netflix. Let's go to minute 36. There's a few things I wanted to...
It's good minute.
This is
Very
a great
good
minute. Lot here. Let's start with the fingerprints on the knife. Okay?
Yes, which has one of my favorite visual gags because it's Colonel Mustard that while she's saying don't touch it, he like grabs it with his hand. Like
Yes.
he's got his fingerprints are all over that knife now. He's such an idiot.
Or, again, we know...
If he's the murderer, yes.
We know this movie. But let's just kind of go with fresh eyes.
And assume he's smart.
And assume he's smart, which, again, he could be downplaying his intelligence.
Right, he's doing a Primal Fear Edward Norton
there you go.
twist.
There you go.
Spoiler alert.
So what better way to... Well, I guess that actually doesn't... Well, I mean, you could just... Because if there's someone else's DNA on the dagger, because who had the dagger before? Mrs. Peacock.
It was you, Mrs. Peacock.
Right. And this
There's
is
no
actually,
DNA.
There's no DNA. They don't have time to do DNA. They don't.
Well, DNA.
They didn't even do that back
thing
then.
in the 50s.
Yeah.
No.
They still didn't really
fingerprints are
understand
nothing.
it during the O.J. Simpson trial. They didn't understand what DNA was.
No, DNA is like this century. Because anytime you watch any true crime that took place, they talk about the case of the 90s, they always have to explain DNA technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. But then, like years later, they find a bag somewhere in the headquarters, and then they can test it. And then the murderer that's been living his life for all these years, and he's like 75, they come knocking at his door, and usually he says something cool like, "What took you so long?"
What took you so long?
Yeah, but if he was the murderer and his fingerprints were on the knife, that would be pretty smart to now grab it and go, well, that's why my fingerprints are on there. I grabbed it when we all discovered the body at the same time.
Yes, all of it. Now he grabs the dagger. They said there's no time to do fingerprinting, so I guess fingerprinting was around.
Yeah, but we talked about this before when they were like, we'll never know if the brandy was poisoned. Like somebody brought a kit to, a forensic kit, just in case murder happened at their little party.
Now, because again, this is almost a bit of a shining scene for Colonel Mustard. Because he's really digging in here and trying to make connections. Not only does he point out that it's Mrs. Peacock who had the dagger. It was you, Mrs. Peacock. He immediately questions Mrs. White.
Mrs. White, yeah.
Because he says,
there's only one admitted killer.
I've admitted nothing.
Yeah,
right?
But you paid the blackmail. We could do the whole scene again if you missed it. We could do the whole scene.
But how many husbands have you had?
Mine or other women's. Yeah. So he starts the interrogation immediately, but she outsmarts him and confuses him. And he moves on.
He just moves on.
He tries to like mow her down with, his intense interrogation tactics, and she won't have any of it. And then he ends it with the wonderful right. And then he has to, well, who else can I talk to now? Who had the dagger anyway? It was you, Mrs. Peacock.
It was you. It was you all along. Now, when she says, because how do they set the joke up? Mine or other women's? 5, just 5.
Oh, how many husbands? Yeah. Husbands should be like Kleenex, strong, soft, and disposable.
Which is another great line. Mine or other women, soft, strong, and disposable. And then how does she set up the...
Flies?
Yeah.
He says, you lure men like a spider with flies.
Oh, yes. Flies are where men
are most vulnerable. Right.
But that was 3 heavy...
Bam, bam, bam.
Heavy jokes right after each other.
Well, it speaks to the repeatability of Clue, because if you're laughing at the first one, mine or other women's, which happens so fast, and I could see you missing that line.
Mm-hmm.
And he just jumps on it right away, too. Like, he doesn't even react to that. Mine or other women's, yours. 5. 5? Yes, just the 5. The Kleenex line is probably the most obvious joke to laugh at.
Right.
So you're probably laughing over the flies are where men are most vulnerable.
What
if you come back, you'll hear it.
If I were to rank those jokes, though, the tissue joke is 3rd. It gets the bronze medal, in my opinion.
I think it's because it's the broadest one. It's not a thinker. I think the best one is the mine or other women, because it happens so fast.
Yeah,
and it's a throwaway, and that's sometimes the best joke that nobody reacts to it. It's just you feel smart as an audience member that you caught it.
Yeah.
And you probably think, oh, half the other idiots in this theater probably didn't even realize it. And you feel smart because you're the only one laughing.
Mine or other women's is a great line. Like, it is a great line. And it almost...
She has to clarify.
It's almost so great. I guess it had to be scripted. But it was just such a... Because we only know the only improv is later on in the movie. They made it into the cut, at least. But that is such a great line. Like, kudos, Jonathan Lynn. Like, kudos.
Yeah.
That's a great line. And then, yeah, flies are where men are most vulnerable. It also shows the intellect and the wit of Mrs. White to be so quick on her feet, which actually makes her a good liar as well, which also makes her a prime suspect for murder.
Yeah. And she's not very convincing in her denial, too. She doesn't say she isn't a killer. She says, I admitted nothing.
Right.
So she's very careful with her words.
Well, it's like the court system, right? In the United States justice system, I don't know how it is in Canada and abroad, but you're not, it doesn't come down and say guilty or innocent. It says guilty or not guilty.
Yeah, it's just we can't prove it without a shadow of a doubt.
We think you did it, but we can't definitively prove it.
Chance it could have been somebody else, then off you go.
Could you, I don't know if I could ever convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt without like video evidence.
Have you ever been on a jury?
No.
Okay. I have, and it wasn't for murder. It was,
thankfully,
it was a guy beat somebody up. And I can say that he did because we made him guilty. But yeah, it's against a lot of our nature. I hope it's definitely against mine to judge anybody.
Yeah.
Because who the heck am I?
Right.
But now I have to say, and it's weird to know that you're going into a court system where I tend to believe, not in a naive way, but I just assume everyone's telling the truth because I do. And it's also just, it's too hard to lie all the time.
Yeah.
So I just assume that people are telling the truth. But you have to tell yourself when you go into court, someone's going to be lying to your face because someone's right and someone's wrong.
Right.
So you have to like turn on that part of your brain to not trust. And that's exhausting. And it's hard to decide. And then to get 11 other people to agree with you. That was the most frustrating part for me is we had all our jurors and I just kind of laid back and let the nice old lady decide. She was the foreman.
Okay.
But when we go back to deliberate, she was like all over the place and getting super distracted. And I just wanted to go home too. And it was very like, she was like, talk about, it's very hypocritical. She would go off on tangents that had nothing to do with the topic at hand. And I was Mrs. White going, please. So it's like, okay, no. So eventually I took over and went, all right, stop. That has nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do with that. You're getting distracted. This is the information. This is what we know. Stop it.
Did this guy had to serve prison time?
I don't think it was that extreme.
Okay.
I think he just like beat up his neighbor.
Okay, so it's one of the
like a
fine and
assault.
probation or something.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. But it was fun because his
was
lawyer
fun
was
assault.
like, "Hey, the trial was fun. The assault wasn't that fun." But his lawyer even said, "You're not going to like this guy. He's a creep. Is a jerk. But that doesn't mean he beat somebody up."
Yeah. It's a good defense. You see?
I disagree.
Well,
because they knew we weren't going to like him, but he wasn't. He was not like.
He was not. Did he testify?
Been a few years though. No.
And
it was only a couple of days.
How much do jurors? This is when you were in California, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
How much do y'all get paid a day?
Oh, I don't remember. But it was
negligible.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
It was so little that I didn't even pay attention to it.
Well,
but it's fun to watch people try to get out of jury duty because they'll say anything.
Right, like the Larry
They'll
David.
make themselves look just absolutely terrible, and they have no shame. And that's when I was the judgiest. When I would watch these people go up and go, I can't be a fair juror because I don't believe that assault is bad, or like what, or prostitution should be legal, or I think all drugs should be legal. I think all drugs should be illegal. And just they'll really say anything. Eventually, somebody will come out and go, I do not like this particular race.
Oh yeah, wow.
Always somebody becomes racist all of a sudden.
Right.
Well, maybe not all of a sudden, but they admit it.
They at least admit it in open court.
Yeah, to get out of jury duty. Unlike
Mrs. White, because she'd admitted nothing.
She admitted nothing.
According to her. Now, do we believe... So at first, Mrs. White not admitting to the murder of her husband's or any other murder for that fact, and her trying to disarm Colonel Mustard... Does this make her seem more guilty? Because for me, it does.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes it seem like something's going on.
I don't trust her at all. And also, just from the scene that we had seen her before, where she's so flippant about it, I'd been away all night at the movies. What was she seeing? Who knows? And how many movies did she watch? But his head had been cut off, and so had his.
Right.
And I was at the movies, so it wasn't me. It's a bummer.
Big bummer for Mr. White. Is there a Mr. White? Do we know? Is there a current Mr. White?
We don't. I doubt it.
Right? Yeah.
I don't think so. Although she does say to Wadsworth one time when we're alone together.
I would never be alone with you.
Yeah, no man in his right mind would be alone with you. But that could be. It's not for anything other than if when we're alone together, I'm just gonna kill you.
Right. Yeah, so she seems to be, and I know we've kept the running tab of who's the most guilty kind of thing, but as far as suspects of the Cook's murder, I think the obvious ones so far are, as I mentioned last week, Yvette, Mrs. Peacock, and Wadsworth, mainly because they all had opportunity and they all had a prior relationship with the Cook. Because we know Yvette and Wadsworth obviously know her. Right. They've been working with her, or at least they knew her prior to all the other guests showing up. We don't know what the length of their relationship was. And we know Miss Peacock was her cook at one point. Do you think that, here's the other thing. Why do you think that Mrs. Peacock, because she has to see the cook fall, right? Cook's face.
She what?
She saw the cook fall out of the fridge, right? She was there.
Oh, yeah. She's in the back, but she should be there.
So you'd think that she'd see the face of the cook at this point. Now, at this present moment, the cook's face is down. But do you think that at this point she makes that connection that this was my cook?
She's pretty flustered because then she tries to say, when she drops the knife.
I don't know. It could have been before. Could have been after. I don't know.
Before I fainted, after I fainted. I don't know.
Do you think she clocked it at this point?
Yeah, it's possible because at this point, we know that at least Miss Scarlett knows Yvette. Mrs. White knows Yvette.
Mm-hmm.
No one says anything.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, she could know that was her cook. And I think if Mrs. Peacock is innocent, then she just assumes, oh, there's my informant.
Right.
But doesn't need to broadcast it to everybody.
So she should maybe not say anything, because then if she does say, "Oh, I know, that was my person," right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden she
made my favorite recipe.
Well, all of a sudden she has motive because she has a prior relationship. Like, why else?
Yeah.
The one person in this house ends up dead. That's weird.
Well, they obviously have some connection to Mr. Body, so now she's 2 for 2.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So now, Mrs. Peacock is a pretty cool customer, as we know. So, she wouldn't. I don't think she would be the type to blurt out, "My cook, Mrs. Hong."
Well, because also remember, she's very aware of what not to share, because even at dinner, we're not supposed to say who we are and who we really are.
Yeah.
She knows how to keep stuff because that's top of mind. Because she almost let it slip and say, "Oh wait, no, I forgot. We're not supposed to say who we are."
Yeah,
and now this is still going in her head. So it's okay. Let me not give any more details.
I've said too much. Actually, she hasn't said too much. Too much has been revealed about her. What she, said it's a vicious lie.
Vicious.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, if you're a politician's wife, we can figure out who you are pretty quickly. Who your husband is.
Oh yeah, we know everybody.
Like very quickly. Just 1-2 Google searches away. Like I have to click the right link, and I'm at your Wikipedia page or your Twitter page and the campaign profile and and all the photos. I guess back in the 50s,
Mrs. Peacock would probably have a very big social media presence.
You think so?
Think she'd want. I think so. I think
Great
she
game.
would. Who's the biggest on social?
Yeah, who would have the biggest following? I think I know this answer. Actually, it's obviously Miss Scarlett.
Oh yeah. Oh, she'd be totally internet famous.
Yeah, she'd be posting thirst traps. She'd have a great TikTok.
Yeah. She'd have an OnlyFans.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a quick game.
Yeah, that was a quick. Yeah, because
Who's least likely to have social media?
Well, so
Professor Plum would have one, but it would be like a fake. He'd have like a Tinder account with fake pictures.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of
For
face
sure.
apps. A lot of face tuning.
This is why he probably wouldn't be big on social media.
I'm trying to think of who. So Mrs. Peacock would have following because of her husband. Mrs. White, yeah, not so much. I think Professor Plum would actually probably be doing like the YouTube and podcast circuit a lot. You know?
Oh, as a professional, and he'd be one of those professionals that, like young co-eds, would like go to his lectures and watch his YouTube and go, "Oh, I'm such an admirer of yours, great Scott." And then Mr. Green, we don't know anything about because we don't believe that's Mr. Green.
We don't believe it's Mr. Green. So and Colonel Mustard, no.
He couldn't figure out the internet.
No. He'd be the person who like calls, like if he has kids. You know, it's like, hey, how do I watch HBO? Okay, Dad, put it on input 2. Input 2.
He would accidentally tweet his search.
Or he'd be the guy who likes like very lewd images on Twitter and doesn't realize that everyone can see.
Everybody can see it.
That's him.
Definitely.
That's him.
He'd accidentally retweet something totally inappropriate. Perfect.
Oh man, we nailed that. Virtual high five on that one. Like we really nailed the social medias. I'm trying to think anything else from this minute that we should bring up regarding Colonel Mustard. So we think Mrs. White, I don't think she's the murderer, but she definitely seems suspicious. Wadsworth was not there when they first discovered the cook, but all of a sudden appears at the top of the stairs. So obviously, now that we see Colonel Mustard closer in this clip, it is obvious he does have that kerchief that you mentioned last time in his pocket. So that's there. I wrote that down, and then also just from a behind the scenes standpoint, good job on the rain outside the window, everybody, because you can see it's raining outside still. Oh, let's see.
It was you.
Oh yes, look at that.
Yeah,
some rain going on.
You, Mrs. Peacock. There's the kerchief.
Yeah, so it's definitely Colonel Mustard at that point. Now, what is back here? Let's see.
Oh, you're looking at the window, the cans of...
It looks like some flour, perhaps some tomato sauce. But let's see, some dirty dishes.
It's a clean kitchen. Wadsworth does a good job. Yeah, it's just how many dirty dishes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Were those the same dishes?
1, 2, 3,
Now we're
4,
really
5, 6, 7. 7 dishes. 6 game piece characters plus Mr. Body.
Yeah.
That's 7.
What's that over there? Soda, Coke?
Looks like some Coca-Cola. Coke. Yeah, it says Coke. It's OKE on the back. So they're drinking Coca-Cola.
Somebody was. Well, they were about to.
And this is back in the day when Coca-Cola had cocaine in it. Right?
There you go, kids. That's what they say.
No, I know it did, right? Is that a rumor?
I don't know.
I feel like it actually had Coke in it. I feel like this was real.
That's why it's called Coke, not like cocoa.
Well, it's like coca from the coca leaf.
Right. Is that where cocaine comes from?
Yeah.
No. I'm pretending like I don't know. Just like House of Ill Fame.
How? What? So
that sounds ridiculous.
We're deep in the minutia at this point, but I feel like just so we don't leave we don't leave our customers hanging, our listeners hanging.
Yes.
Cocaine. I'm just going to Google cocaine and Coke before we wrap this up.
For all you wondering about cocaine, if you already know or are not interested in illegal narcotics, you can skip to whatever else you listen
Coca-Cola's history has been well documented. The drink was invented in 1885, 100 years before Back to the Future came out, by John Pemberton, and also 1885 is when Doc Brown goes back to the Old West and his horse threw a shoe. Biff Tannen.
1885.
Mad Dog Tannins. A pharmacist from Atlanta, Georgia, who made the original formula in his backyard, Pemberton recipe did contain cocaine in the form of an extract of the coca leaf, which inspired the coca part of the beverage name. The cola comes from the cola nut, which contains caffeine, another stimulant. So he was saying, like, you're going to be all jacked up on this product.
Yeah. It wasn't to be refreshing. It was we're gonna mess you up.
He was a pharmacist, so he was trying to figure something out, and he did.
Oh.
Well, there you go, Coca-Cola. Jeff, 36. We went through it. I think that we've covered it, and I think we're ready for 37. Unless I'm missing
37? 37 is a Clerks reference.
I don't get that one.
I can't explain it. It's a family podcast.
Oh, it's. I know what you're talking about. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're in the video store. He's on the phone.
Well, no, it's not that.
Oh.
It's a number special to Dante's girlfriend.
Okay. Well, you have to tell me off the break. I don't remember.
Most people know what it is. 37.
I don't remember that one. But until next time, we're going to end it on that.
Yeah.
Minute 37 means we'll have 60 episodes after that.
Okay.
So we're coming up on some milestones here.
We do have to start talking about what the final episode is going to be.
We're really barreling through this because we started this in October, if you can believe that, of 2022. We're in May. So that's what?
Well,
7
we're
months?
in May.
Well,
May is almost over.
June's almost over.
So this is, June's almost over for, if you're listening to this day of date, which you should be.
So, yeah, we're barreling through, guys. We're barreling through. But, Jeff, people need to pay attention to your socials for streaming of the doc, right?
Oh, yeah. If that information is not out yet, it will be soon.
There you go. And
that's all I know.
You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Check out, if you're in the Houston area, CW39 Spotlight. Just go to CW39.com. You can watch my interview segment on there. The Collection with Brad Gilmore, where I have all my celebrity interviews.
He's very handsome. Very handsome.
Back from
you're gonna want to see him.
Back to the Future, the podcast. Season 10 is available now. The Hall of Fame with Booker T and myself. And I think that's it, right? That's it. A couple books out there you can check out as well. An album on the way as well. So some things out there from the band. But until that, hey man, Howard's got to retire sometime. Until next time, I'm Brad Gilmore. That is Jeff Smith. This Cluedo Movie Podcast. We'll be back in minute 37.